division manager with Cutco of South Texas. We're going to get started right now. I know half the office here is running around, so you might hear some doors open and things like that. But thank you for coming on. Thank you for giving us 45 minutes to an hour of your time just to kind of hear about what your son or daughter is doing now with the knife company, especially with it being virtual as it is, and with the opportunity to open an office and opening a business in a COVID world is a very unique thing. We're all learning here. And so I'm going to go over kind of a PowerPoint and kind of run through the steps, the process, what we used to do in the past, what has changed, funding, how everything's kind of going with Cutco, how Cutco has actually had a very up year. We've had our best year in company history, which, I never would have thought would have happened when you went from selling knives to selling knives over the computer through a virtual presentation without them even actually cutting a piece of food. They still bought more. So it's good to know that Cutco is still selling. So I'm going to jump in and share my screen. And then Casey, if you can, we'll get a recording of this just so we can share it down the road. But can I just get a thumbs up from everybody if you can see the screen and see everything there? Sweet. Cool. So once again, we wanted to do this because one, we're asking you guys to come to South Padre. So I ideally wanted to give you a face to the name here and say, hey, look, this is who we are. This is what your son and daughter are working with. This is our leadership, kind of get our backgrounds, get to know why we work with knives still, why we're still doing the knife thing, and what it's done for our lives and what it's done for others. And then kind of what the path of what your son and daughter are about to entail and to go into. And because we know if the parents are on board and the parents are supportive, the ride's a lot smoother. And so, I know when they first probably went home to you and said, hey, I'm going to start selling knives, pre-COVID or post-COVID, I think, you probably were a little bit concerned, as, say my parents were too. It's selling knives, and that's not what kids go to school for. And so it's a little different, but it turns out to be a great opportunity. So just first off, want to say thank you. Thank you for making the time. Thank you for supporting your son and daughter enough to just attend this event, just attend and be part of what we're doing. You have raised a winner. We work with hundreds and hundreds of college students and high school students, thousands across the United States, and not all of them get into the managers in training program or the MIT program or the leadership program. We have a lot of people that come in from all walks of life. We have kids that come in very shy and timid, and then we have, the high school jocks that come in and they're confident and nothing can harm them, And it's a very cool thing to see as the kids grow and how they progress over the years and how their confidence builds over the years and their maturity and how they learn things from selling knives, but more importantly, just the time management, the maturity aspect, the working with adults that they do. They're showing the product to adults and learning how to cater to that and learning how to sell a product and build the value up over the price, and the list goes on. And so you raised a unique kid in the sense of someone who wanted to be more or less a leader, or they had the drive in them to say, let me try. And it's a really, really cool thing to see. Things that we're really big on here in South Texas, as you know, is we're brand new. We're brand new, and South Texas was never a division. It was never looked at as a division from a corporate standpoint. Being a division is a very strict process in the Cutco world. The division's the highest tier you can get. So if you become a division per se, you got to meet a certain type of factors, and that's income per capita. They want say enough territory, demographic space is there, so there's enough population and so forth. And as you guys know, on paper, South Texas doesn't have a lot of people, and we're definitely not the richest. And so it was a very unique push to Bruce Goodman, who was our CEO, to say, hey, yeah, I know you're a big Nick Smith fan and you've seen all the things he's done in the company in the past 5 years. So we want to make him a DVM, and we don't just want to make him a DVM. We want to keep him in South Texas. It was a very hard push. They wanted to promote me and push me out to like Alabama or something, and I refused back in 2016. And so I stayed here, and we kept winning things and kept earning, I guess, brownie points with the corporate company and producing the sales that they just didn't think was possible. Out of South Texas, we sold about 15 million just in the South Texas area in the past 5 years of knives. So it's a lot of knives. And they finally pulled the trigger. And so this was our first year. And our first year going out, we were up. We were the #1 division per averages because we don't have that many district offices. It was very demographically locked in. Like you had Harlingen, you had Brownsville, you have Weslaco, you have Laredo. And so, we didn't have as many territories as, say, the other divisions. And so it was a very cool thing to see out of the gates. Being as small as we were as a division, we were #1 in the entire company on averages. Then COVID hit, and we got the rug swiped right under us, and it hit us. But through the process, we learned a ton, and I think your son and daughter can talk about that too, you guys. And I think you guys have maybe seen that. But the growth we had and the track record we grew from, in November, we grew by 40-something% as a business over the last years. And in December, we just finished. Our malls were down a little bit, but yet we grew as a division in sales for the month of December. So it's a very exciting thing to see that we're getting the things going again. And I think what that is just the core beliefs and the core culture that we kind of push in South Texas. And those are the things that you see at the bottom there, as the discipline, the maturity, the time management, the organization skills, and the work ethic. You might see me walking with your son or daughter a lot. I like to do walking meetings and things like that. I think we're real big on the idea of become a better version of yourself, right? We're not competing with anyone, but compete with yourself yesterday, compete with the mirror. Does that make sense? And so we encourage that, and we like to see the kids grow over the years. So the history, kind of a weird thing started, was 2016. Of course, like I mentioned, they try to get me to move out. They said, hey, why don't you go move to Alabama, start a division, we'll promote you, you'll get all the pay structure, all that stuff, and things will just be groovy. You just got to move. You got to give up your home turf. You got to give up, where you came from. And me being as stubborn as I was, I said, no, home is where the heart is. And I was raised in South Texas. I want to bring it back to South Texas. I want to create something great down here in South Texas, where I'm from. I'm not going to leave. And so they said, all right, well, you're going to have to stay as a DM. So I did that. And in 2017, I was the first district manager and even division manager to purchase a commercial building. I purchased a commercial building through the Cutco Knives income and things like that. And that was a big head shaker in corporate. They're like, wait, this guy purchased a building just for his Cutco office. And it kind of showed, hey, this kid's probably not leaving. 2018, I made a pretty big stern of like, I'm not leaving, but I don't want to stay as a district manager. And I think I've, earned the right to say, give us a division. And I think South Texas could compete with divisions. We might not be the biggest, and we might not have the richest people per se compared to some of the territories in the Northeast or California, but our work ethic is there. And the kids we raise through South Texas here work hard, and we put it all in if we have the motivation, and we're good at giving them that. And so I think we should have a division. And in 2018, they kind of set the guidelines and stuff. And it was a unique one because, I had the DVC year in 2019, so I didn't get paid as a DVM, but I had to do everything as a DVM. And then in 2020, they'll give me half the pay as a DVM. And the other half goes to where I came from as a divisional in the corporate. And then 2021, next year, is our first final year. And so we're real focused, not just on your son or daughter, but also on you as the parent, saying, we're building something great for the local economy down here. We work with a lot of the local politicians and things like that, and we do a lot of foster and philanthropy and things like that. But the reality is the opportunity that we give students down here in South Texas. I know it's selling knives and it sounds crazy, but the soft skills they're gaining as they go through college, the ability to graduate college debt free, that's not a rare occasion. That's actually happening a ton across the entire country for the knife selling kids out there selling Cutco. And it's a really cool thing to see. And so I'm pretty passionate at bringing that to South Texas and saying we can do that too. So we've got here. We finally made it. 2021 is coming. And so our goal through this whole entire process is just to give you guys the basic information, but to hopefully get you guys to maybe lower the walls and say, all right, I'm going to give these guys a shot. I'm going to let them, try to mentor and coach my son and daughter, and I'm going to support them on the side too. I don't have to agree with it all maybe, but I support them through their process, right? And that's our main goal. And so I want to introduce you guys to our leadership before we get started into the nuts and bolts, but I'm the division manager, so newly promoted division manager, and our division is South Texas, and we have district offices. And so our two district managers are Lucio January and David Romero. And so Lucio and I actually went to elementary together. His mom took care of me too when we were in elementary. And Lucio and I have been friends, for a long while. But he didn't start back into the business, into the Cutco business, until we caught back up after college. And so I want to just highlight Lucio. Let me see if I could pin video. Oh, I think I did it right. Or spotlight video. Ask to unmute. Let me see.
I think so.
Can you guys give me a thumbs up if you see Lucio? Awesome. He's a good face to look at. All right. So Lucio January is our Weslaco district manager. And Lucio, if you can kind of talk just how long you've been in the business, give us your story, and then why you still are here today.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you everyone for taking the time to be a part of this and letting me share a little bit about myself and what I've experienced with Vector. So I'm originally from South Texas. I was born and raised in Edinburgh. I graduated from Edinburgh High School. I graduated from UTPA when it was still UTPA with the Bachelor's of Criminal Justice. So while going to school, I remember doing a couple different things. I worked in retail. I worked at restaurants. I worked as a plumber as well for my uncle. And what I hadn't realized is that after graduation, my resume just looked like a lot of my peers. So you can imagine when I graduated in 2011, the job market was just tough for me. And as a recent college graduate, I had applications pending with state troopers, US Customs, local PDs, but no one was hiring at that point just due to the fact that we were in the midst of a presidential change. So what I did was that I did what most people do, and I moved to a big city. So I started living in downtown Houston as a 21-year-old. You can imagine I was excited, I was nervous, I was like financially and emotionally unprepared for that, if I'm being honest with everyone. But I learned about things. I learned about the cost of living, paying for an apartment, utilities, my own car, groceries. And 6 months later, I decided that working two part-time jobs just wasn't going to cut it. So I started looking for things outside of my career field. And I remember still to this day applying for a car sales position. And I remember telling my parents about the interview. And the first thing they said was, what? Like, you and sales, they just don't go together. I don't know how that's going to work for you. And the reason why they were nervous for me is just due to the fact that when I was in high school and college, my communication skills were never great. I was never the most social person. I was always very shy and nervous if I had to give a presentation. So they were nervous that I wasn't going to be able to talk to people. They were also scared about my lack of experience. They were afraid that I was just going to fail. As a parent, they didn't want me to experience any kind of failure yet, but it ended up being the best thing for me because although I didn't realize I needed sales, at that moment, I truly needed it at that point because my confidence began to grow. My ability to connect with people, my communication skills on a personal and professional level started to grow. I learned how to handle presenting myself and products, but I also learned how to handle objections and failures that in life I've learned now to just be a good finder in everything, even when things don't go my way. I've also learned just many other soft skills that translate to other careers. And as a car salesman, I continued to grow myself professionally and personally, but it became very tough for me at some point. It was just, I always realized that if I wasn't there working at the dealership, I wouldn't have an opportunity to sell. And if I wasn't selling, I wasn't making money. So I was just always trading my time for money at that time. So it became very emotionally challenging for me just because I missed a lot of things like graduations. I have a twin sister. I didn't get to attend her college graduation. And that was something that wasn't physically challenging, but it was definitely emotionally challenging for me, along with the weddings and funerals and different anniversaries that I missed. I made a decision in 2016 to move back from Houston and move back to the Valley. So I had full intent that I was not going to do sales anymore. So I took about 6 months off and I just spent time with my family, reconnecting with the people that I loved and that I cared about. And I waited for the right opportunity. But I also realized like anything else, I needed money. I needed to be able to pay bills and my savings wasn't going to last forever. So I eventually started selling cars again in 2016 at the Paint Auto Group. Some of y'all might be familiar with it. It's there in Weslaco off of International. And at that point, I hadn't really done a lot of research on Cutco and Vector marketing, but I knew of them. And it wasn't until November 2016 that I reconnected with Nick, as he mentioned. We've known each other for years. It had been probably 10 to 15 years since elementary that we had talked. But I remember him posting on social media that he needed a vehicle. And I was like, this is an easy opportunity for me to go get a sale. Like, I know him, he knows me, we trust each other, we've known each other's families. So it's definitely an easy thing. Sure enough, he purchased a vehicle, but what he also told me was that I should come try out what he's been doing. He's experienced success with it over the past 5 years. And 4 years ago, from yesterday, so I actually hit my 4-year anniversary yesterday with Cutco and Vector Marketing. I started working part-time, and it was one of the best decisions for me because even though I was working part-time, I was surrounded by a lot of people that were positive, they were eager to learn, and they were just ready to work and committed to whatever their goals were. So I went through the MIT training and I eventually opened my first district office in 2017, and I opened it in Austin, Texas. So although I had just moved back from Houston, moving back to the Valley, I didn't really want to leave the Valley again, but I knew I couldn't pass up an opportunity like this. So I moved to Austin, and opening up a business has been one of the hardest, but really most rewarding things of my life. It's been hard because the first 8 months, it was definitely something that was challenging. I had to deal with not really knowing what was upcoming, like dealing with the unknown in a sense. But it challenged me to just learn how to focus on activity over accomplishment, and just know that with my effort and my work ethic, I could accomplish anything I want. I also learned about decision making and learning that how not only having to make the right decisions for myself, I had to make the right decisions for other people because it affected the other people around me. So it's taught me to put needs of others before my own. And I think there's a really important quote that goes, "If you can help enough other people get what they want in life, you can get everything you want in life." And although there have been some challenges that I've faced with being a district manager, the rewards have been far greater. The income opportunity has been near the same as car sales and more, but the travel has also been really awesome. And the experience has been extremely rewarding, not only for myself, but for my family as well. So for me, it's not really about all those things that I mentioned. It's about the people that I get to work with. And it's rewarding being a district manager for myself because I'm surrounded by people that I can learn with, learn from, and just be able to teach as well. And what's really awesome is that I get to work on a personal basis with a lot of your kids, your son or daughters, and being able to see them kind of grow and see our representatives grow into these exceptional leaders is just so awesome. The resume experience that they gain is just unparalleled because of the incredible skills that they gain. I can think back to a guy that I hired and went through our MIT program named Joey Ayala. And in 2018, he went through our MIT program and opened a branch office. But what I love about his story is that when he started with me, he knew from the get-go that he was not going to do anything in business. He was always going to go into the medical field, but he also knew that the skills he was gaining here were going to be so important to his future. So he learned things like communication and critical thinking and creativity. And what was really awesome to see is that he used this as a stepping stone for something else. So some of your kids may be using this as like a cut through college program. So I love being able to see where it's taking people. 2 years later, Joey messaged me back at the beginning of the year how he landed his job as an EMT. And it's so cool to be able to see those types of things. But it's also rewarding just having a team, being able to see that these kids are separating themselves from peers by doing something that's different, but also rewarding because it's important for me to build a connection with them and getting to know their goals and their dreams and really just know them on a personal level, because it's fun being able to experience their growth, but also see how they can help me grow as well. And then just being able to travel with them. I've been able to now to travel to places like Paris and Los Angeles and Washington, D.C. And some of your kids right now are working really, really hard to earn a trip to Puerto Vallarta. So it's super cool to be able to see. We had some of our reps like JR sell over $20,000 this past month, which is just incredible because he's so committed to like what he wants and his goals. So it's really cool. But more importantly than all of those things, it's rewarding to me because our representatives are setting themselves up to have options after graduation. They're learning how to maximize opportunities for themselves. And being a district manager and a branch manager, this is something that not only do they get to be in a position where they're maximizing opportunities for themselves, it's also an opportunity where they can love being in a position where it's not just about them, it's also about what it can do for other people as well. And that's why we're so committed to building the South Texas area, because we know there's so many people here in South Texas that are highly capable, highly skilled, and every single day they challenge us to be better each day. And I'm extremely grateful for that with all the people that we have on our team and in our division. So I definitely appreciate your time. I love being able to work with all your kids. It's definitely an awesome experience for me. But that's a little bit about me. I'd love to be able to answer any questions if y'all have any, or if y'all need to reach out to me, y'all are more than welcome to as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Lucio. If you can pass back the spotlight or however y'all do it, I think you guys are hosts. So thank you, Lucio. The next person I want to introduce is our Laredo district manager, just to keep everything on time. And so David's the newer one with us and the younger one per se. David is recently a new homeowner, purchased his first house so before he could even legally drink, which is a pretty cool thing to say and see, as that was not who I met when he first walked into the office. He was not a person that you would say, oh, that guy's going to buy a house before he turns 21. No, sir. And it's great to see that this opportunity doesn't limit anybody. If you want it, go get it, right? And no one can tell him, oh, you're only worth $10 an hour or $20 an hour or whatever. Instead, it says, here's how it works. Everyone sells the exact same knives. We're on the exact same comp plan. We're doing the exact same thing. How hard are you going to work? You know, and Dave is one of those individuals that said, well, I'm going to work really hard. And he took off. And David has a really, really cool story, and he was a silver cup. There's a couple silver cups in the back. We had a storm over there today. And the silver cups are like the #1 trophy you can get in this company. It means you didn't just win, you won in the entire company for that bracket. And so David, as a new district manager, was the #1 office in the entire company out of Laredo, Texas. We've won some for McAllen, we won one for Weslaco, and now we just won one for Laredo last year. And so it's pretty cool to say our district offices are all Silver Cup offices, literally. So David, I'm going to see if you can spotlight your video. Hopefully it's pinned and you're good to go. But if you can, sir, unmute yourself and then tell us a little bit about yourself, and so all the parents can kind of get to know you.
All right, cool. So first of all, I want to say thank you guys for taking the time to be here with us. I know all of you guys are professionals and have things to do probably around this time, but making some time for something that is important for us, us meaning your kids, because I have my mom right here. My mom making the time to be here to support me definitely makes a difference, as I know it makes a difference for the rest of the guys that are looking into opening an office. So I wanna thank you for that. So a little bit about my background. I come from Mexico. I got here to the US about 4 years ago. I did not know how to speak English when I first walked into the McAllen office. Me and Casey, when I went through the interview, I was just like nodding my head like, yes, I want to work here. I just know that you guys make money and I wanna be there too, right? So I went through the training. They told me about the company, the pay, the program, the structure. I saw the success that the office had, and I wanted to be part of something bigger and greater than just myself. So I didn't take off too fast. I was still in high school when I got the job. So I was just working around classes in the afternoons at the time. I was working at a Mexican restaurant cleaning tables. And as you guys know, the restaurant industry or the fast food industry is not the best place to be. Of course, I think everybody had the chance to try it out when they were first in high school or just recently graduated from college. It's kind of like a stepping stone, but it's not somewhere I wanted to stay. I wanted something that would give me flexibility, something that would give me pay, and something that would give me experience as well. And I just knew that McDonald's and Whataburger was not going to give me it. So I started working really hard with Vector. I got promoted to be an assistant manager, like everybody here. And I was in charge of not only my personal sales, but I was also in charge of helping others hit their personal goals. So for me, it was very rewarding because when I was in high school, I had those leadership positions. I was the co-captain for the soccer team. I was also the one always like in leads of like the group projects and things of that type. So leadership in a sense came natural to me, but I was never paid for it. And when I started getting paid for it, it just made the entire difference because I started loving it more and more. So I started leading the group of people that we had back in McAllen in 2018 as an assistant manager. We sold $240,000 worth of Cutco as a team. And I was just part of something bigger and greater than just myself. And I love the fact that I built a lot of relationships along the way as well. We have Juan Zuniga right here. I know Robin is probably running an interview right now, but she's also still part of the South Texas division that we have built all the way up to today. And I believe that these people that came along with me as assistant managers and became branch managers eventually, they keep me around, they keep me alive, and they keep me excited about being part of something. And also seeing them growing helped me to stay the course, I guess you can say. So at the end of my first year working with Cutco, I sold about $100,000 worth of Cutco at 30%. I made about 30 grand at 18. And it was the point of my life where I was about to go to college. I had just finished with high school, but I just wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my lifestyle. I was seeing all the career paths that college offered, and the most appealing one was entrepreneurship. And I was like, I'm gonna go to school to learn from a teacher, business teacher that doesn't have a business. It didn't really make sense for me. And at the time, I wanted to learn from somebody that had done something special, had really built a business, had the experience to do so. So I decided to become a district manager when the opportunity presented to me. By the time I got, I hadn't even, I had completed my first full year as an assistant manager. And I had already saved about $30,000 in my account, and that allowed me to explode into my business per se. So with the leadership of Casey, Lucio, and Nick, I was able to obtain the management skills that I needed to be able to perform as a manager when I opened up my office. And we took off in Laredo within our first, 4 months, which is the summertime. We sold about $350,000 worth of Cutco. We ended up as, I think it was the #2 office for the summer in the entire nation for the brand new category. And then we ended up our first year at $500,000. So with that, we were able to build a lot of things as staff. We built also, or we didn't build, we bought a house that now we have some of our staff members like Ossie Montoya that got the opportunity to move out of his parents' house. Now he's actually paying for his own bills and becoming his own, I guess you can say, individual person, right? He doesn't have to rely from mom and dad to be able to do things for himself. And it's just very exciting to see that people are following the footsteps that we kind of like have made and have made a track for everybody else to follow. We know that it is kind of hard to venture into something new when it's something that you don't know. But thankfully, Nick, Lucio, Casey have already walked down the path of success in vector marketing, and they're not going to let your hand go away. So they will always hold your hand, they will always keep you accountable, and they will always help you grow. So I'm excited to be one of those people that can lock arms with you guys and can help you become better. And for the parents that are here, like I said, I want to thank you, because I remember the nights that my mom wasn't very excited about, I guess you can say, me working this hard. But now when we get to spend time on Christmas and she gets the cool gifts, and this year I'm taking her to New Zealand and Australia, she's very excited about me selling knives, right? So there's a lot of good little perks that come from working hard and being patient and getting the support from our parents. My mom, when I first decided to become a district manager, she wasn't really sure about what the outcome was going to be, but I was sure of what I wanted to make out of my lifestyle. So I said, Mom, if you're not gonna support me, just support, just stay there, okay? I'll be right back. So I took off, I came back, and now she see what the things that I've done and the things that I've built, and now she's a lot more, I guess you can say, supportive of the things that we're building here in South Texas. And she knows that the core leaders that we have, like Lucio, Casey, and Nick and Brittany too, that was a big influence in my career. We wouldn't be here without them. So just as appreciative as I am to all the leaders that have built me, I know that my mom is too, and you guys as parents will also be in a few years from now when you guys see all the rewards for the work that your kids, my friends, I guess you can say, my team and our team is putting in. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys.
Thank you, David. So as you guys can see, he's our firecracker. He's our superstar in the division, the young successful guy who's just very passionate and very, very, very focused. And so we're always really excited to see someone not just be passionate about something, but to actually, go all the way through and then win with it too. So it was cool. And it's always great to see that. The next people I want to introduce are the division heads. So these are like the division operation managers. These are the girls that they keep my head on in a lot of senses. And so they keep me ticking. And so Brittany, Robin, they've been with me since the start as a district manager per se, when I really started getting things going. Casey started with us. She was like in our second training class when I opened up a branch. So the branch is the first office you would technically open. And so before we go forward, I just want to make sure that we give Casey and Brittany time to talk. And so if I can, let me see if I can pin you, Casey. Still learning the Zoom. There we go. And are you there?
Yes, I am.
There we are. Sweet.
Cool. So just a little bit about me. Like Nick said, I've been with the company for a while. I started in 2013. And I was kind of like David, I was a high school student, and I was just wanting to make some extra income for myself. My dad raised me and my sister to very much earn everything that we wanted. He's like, we have the roof over your head and the food, but anything else, he definitely wanted us to earn it on our own. So I had started off just as a sales rep. That was my only intention. I actually did pretty well at the beginning though. So I got the opportunity to get moved into the assistant manager role. And then when it was coming time to kind of go a professional route, business was something that I was always really interested in. It was something that I wanted to go to school for. My aunt has always worked in business for different corporations, and I remember talking to her on the holidays and stuff like that. It was something that always really interested me. So I was kind of lucky to be able to find this position at such a young age and be able to grow throughout it. It was a little bit different when I was newer, but now a lot of my friends from high school have already graduated college. They've already been out for a couple years now. And so some of them I've seen go through different jobs or like finding stuff that they're excited about, but also gives them the pay and stuff that they want. So I just feel very fortunate to have been able to find that at such a young age and still be able to grow within the company. And I've always been a very hard worker in a lot of the things that I've done. So being able to be rewarded and recognized for the hard work and efforts that I've put in here is something that I am very excited for. But one of the things that I do really like about the company as well is the people that I'm surrounded by. Coming in here, I've definitely seen a lot of people who think differently, think about bigger opportunities. And so I really admire a lot of the upper level managements who are around not just the South Texas area, but our region as a whole. And then just some of the cool extra perks that I've had, I've been able to travel a lot. Growing up, my family hasn't really had the opportunity to do that. So now I've been to Europe like 3 or 4 times. I've been to Mexico a bazillion times in different places. So Cutco has definitely spoiled me. I've stayed at some nicer places that I have before, but I'm just really appreciative that I've been able to find something and be able to grow within the company as well.
Sweet. Thank you, ma'am. You have been to some very, very cool places. So our next one is Brittany. So Brittany has been with us since 2015, I want to say, in the fall. And so she started with us and has stayed through the thick and thin. And she said, I'm sticking this through and we're going to get a division. And so once again, without Casey or Brittany, there is no Nick, there is no South Texas division. And they do a lot of the stuff from a front end standpoint with your son or daughter. So Brittany, if you can unmute yourself and I think just start talking and it should give you that.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. I created some slides for y'all, some pictures. If y'all don't mind, I can go ahead and share it. But let's see here. So one of my favorite things about working here is the people. When I started working, one of the most important things that I was looking for was a positive environment to be around. Surround myself with positive people, uplifting people. My manager was Casey back in the day. My first couple of weeks working, she would always contact me in the morning and be like, Brittany, you're gonna have a great day. You're gonna do great today. And that was like something I was always looking for in a job. It's not just like a normal like clock in, clock out kind of job. So that people were forced to go. People were super excited to get here, be with all their friends. We're a group of, as y'all notice, highly motivated young adults trying to make a name for ourselves and help others. The team environment is incredible. Even though we are independent sales reps, we look for ways to help each other out. The most meaningful way for anyone to succeed is to help others succeed. So working here for 5 years, I've realized how lucky I am to be able to meet with so many different types of people. The sales representative position has allowed me to, here we are. Yeah, so the sales rep position allowed me, there you go. Allowed me to network with all different types of adults, learning to meet with realtors, doctors, lawyers, business owners, teachers, hearing their stories and how meaningful their work is. It definitely, it gave me a lot of gratitude to be able to have those conversations with people I otherwise wouldn't have met without doing like a presentation for them. Also, while being mentored with Nick, I've been able to meet, you see the other picture right there, I've met many successful individuals across the Valley. It's made me really appreciate the potential that the Rio Grande Valley has and the effects that we have on the youth here. So that's something I'm very grateful for, that I loved about working here. Nick is very respected in the business world here. So I'm beyond excited to work alongside all the talented individuals here in our company.
Sweet. Thank you, ma'am. I see we have, can you guys hear me or no? Yes. So that was Oz. I saw Oz in there. If you guys don't know, Richard Cortez, he wasn't elected there and he was speaking. And a lot of the politicians, they like to speak to large groups of kids, especially during election season, we've seen. And it's neat to just get them in here, encourage kids to go vote. Say, hey, if you're 18, you know it's your right and go vote. And so they talk about voting, but then they also talk about their story and, you know, what they're running for and things like that. Sebi, he's our city commissioner for where this office building is located. And we've had a lot of various politicians that have been elected and things like that. But most importantly is when they see the environment of what Cutco is doing, it's really powerful. And they're the ones who encouraged me to get in connection with Palm Valley Animal Shelter and get that foster program set up and build my dog park that I got outside the front of this office that we shelter the extended stays. We don't get the cute ones that were found in the street yesterday. We get the dogs that have been there for 6 months or more. And so we take those dogs out, give them the time of their life every week, more or less. And I think we're the winners in all of that. So the dogs like it, of course, but I think we really like it too, and it makes us feel well. So I'm going to share my screen back on this after you kind of guys saw everything. And so Casey, Brittany, like I said, they kind of run the show. And so I want to talk about the process and then the prize of what your son or daughter can attain. You know, once again, this is a sales commission based world. So you reap what you sow, of course, right? But there is a process, and it's very spoon fed per se. And as long as your son or daughter have the discipline to wake up, show up on time, dress sharp, you know, the common things that we probably preach already, but to do them actually and make them a habit, it's amazing how far it can go. And so the process moving forward as of this new year is nothing's changed from the standpoint of how we delegate the business and how we run the business. The only difference is the means and how we do it. So many things are done via Zoom now. Zoom has become our friend in this COVID world, right? But there's always a training months, January through April. And January through April, there's a couple things that are like we don't miss these type of things, right? And we have monthly meetings. And so these are the monthly dates. And if you guys, as the parents, want to write these dates down, just so you're aware as well, because I know sometimes your son or daughter can say, I got to go do this Cutco thing. And it's been planned for probably 5, 6, or a year ahead. And, you get here the day before. And so we want to just make sure you guys are in the loop a little bit. And so these are the dates where they're going to meet. We meet, all our district managers run this, and we're running over the basics principles of the business, how to do the recruiting better, how to do the training of the reps, the development side of things, how you run these one-on-one meetings with the individual reps, how you do this, how you do that. And then the scripts are given out, and the list goes on. And then teaching more or less this virtual platform, because we don't interview in person anymore. So we interview via Zoom. And so that has while it's a big pro, it also has some cons. And the reality is people can jump off of a Zoom very fast. People can, not know how to operate a Zoom, interview properly. Sometimes you see them, looking at the sky, or they're not at home, or they're, you get a Zoom interview and they're not dressed right. And you're like, what are we doing? So learning how to prep the Zoom interviews, train the people before we even meet them for the Zoom interviews. And it's the tedious, the nuances of the business. These are the things that we kind of go over on January 16th, February 13th, March 13th, and April 10th. So these are the dates. So on these dates, these are going to be almost all day, and it's called an MIT meeting, a managers and training meeting. And so those are the dates of the big nitty gritty of here's how we do it. And then you have a month of applying it to your business. So they'll operate it. They'll get, test shots at it, get to run their own interviews out of their own district office per se. If they work for Lucio or David or Casey, they'll get to run their own interview, run their own training, run their one-on-one meeting, and get some practice. And we do this in January through April. So when our hot seasons come, we have skilled individuals running the right activities. Because we know that if Lucio ran an interview, or say a brand new rep ran an interview, we know Lucio's probably going to do it at a higher level, but we're never going to train anybody if we don't give them a shot. And so we usually do this through January and April timeframes. We have ongoing weekly activities, the training, the recruiting, the developing, that's going on in their office. They all have set schedules. And I would encourage you, as the parent, to say, can I see your color-coded schedule? Because I'm pretty big on those. And we have color-coded schedules. They color-code it when's school, when's studying, when's interview, when's this. And it's all color-coded on a weekly thing, and we keep it very consistent. So it's not like, well, we're going to do that this week and then this that week. And no, it's the same thing every week for the 90-day blitz, so we can get you trained properly and we don't drop grades at all. Studying doesn't get a hit, nothing, you can do both. Always think right? And so if I was able to run the office, and that's what I did in 2013, 14, and 15, I was running a district office, and I still graduated from UTPA. I was the last graduating class at UTPA in summer 2 semester of 2015. But if I was able to do that, I know your son or daughter can do it too. but it's not easy. And it does take these little, making a color-coded schedule, having the time discipline, doing, listening to the managers and doing those things. And so these are the dates, and then they have their color-coded schedule. I would encourage you guys to get that from them and say, now I know what's going on. And so if they say, hey, I'm at the Cutco office at 10 o'clock at night, you can go look at the color-coded schedule and say, that is a lie, and know that they're not at the Cutco office. And so we see this happen here and there. And so I just want to make sure transparency, I'm very big on that. It is started now versus later. We usually do parent dinners, and so we'll probably reach out to you guys maybe March. Hopefully the vaccines are out there and stuff, but ideally I get to take you to dinner. I explain it all individually, but then we get to focus individually on your son or daughter and where they're probably going to open their office and this kind of stuff. And before we do that, I would like to just start now and say these are what things that are going on. And so depending on where the country goes with COVID, our live activities that we also do are on campus. We would set up a booth usually at like the senior lunches or at the STC or UTRGV or wherever the schools are at. And they have like a little booth at their lunchtime, and the kids can come up and say, hey, what's this? And it's, oh, summer jobs are available or whatnot. We do teach that, and they would get to partake in that so long that that's going on. We have not officially got the dates yet or the okay yet with COVID. So that might happen. Job fairs, expos are like one every campaign. So it's random. We won't know about it until COVID lets us all know about it. So that is live activities that your son or daughter would be training in. So then let's go over the profitability. So running a branch office, just so everybody knows, is usually for experience. It's usually a break-even kind of thing. And when I say break-even, the money that the company gives them. So the company even gives them a signing bonus. So there's money that we give out to usually open the office, office lease, pay for the marketing, pay for the advertising things, the various mailer campaigns, all those things for the recruiting census. When we open an office now in this virtual world, some kids profit at the get-go, and so corporate has learned this, and so there's been some adjustments per se from a corporate standpoint. We're still getting all the details on it, but they usually were given $6,000 just for opening an office, and this office is for 90 days to 120 days. This is a net loss to the business on a short-term basis. The long-term win is if your son or daughter does really well, stays in the business, and then becomes a district manager or a division manager or a CSP or one of the fair and show leaders, or the idea is they're going to have some great success, learn a lot about themselves when they run their own business for the 90-day, 120-day window blitz, during the summertime when they're not in school. And they're going to learn a lot about themselves, but they're also going to learn how to work with people at a higher level, and then also how to give back. And so that's what the company kind of places their bets on. They did take this away in the past, and we realized it was like our gray wolf of like Yellowstone. You can't take them out. You can't take this program out because it does create your future leaders. Sometimes you just need to, pump them up a little bit beforehand. So the difference in a virtual and a physical branch office, as you guys can see, is the overhead. The overhead is dramatically decreased on the virtual branches. With office rent, as we all know, a lot of people will be working out of their main office. They're not going to go travel to say like Eagle Pass, find an office space, negotiate an office lease, hire some reception. All that's gone. And so when these people open their offices, there's a lot of wins here. Office phone and internet, $200 is a lot. I think a lot of these kids will get it for $150. In a physical branch, you would have $500 for the office internet, the phones, all these hookups, things like that. Office supplies, just desks and chairs and pens. You'd be amazed on how much we lose pens and things like that when we ran a live office environment. It did add up. It ended up costing a lot. And so these things add up. And as you guys can see on a virtual side, it has lowered a lot. The estimated overhead expenses was like $5,000 to $8,000, I think is what their number projected out of the entire country. Now, as you know, in South Texas, things are a little cheaper. Our cost of living is lower. In Texas alone, it costs less to live than, let's say, California. And so this is with the whole country, and they've ran the numbers, and they said the average virtual branch has spent $500 to $8,500 on a high end. And we're giving them $6,000. So the kid only needed to save $2,500 and he breaks even. And that's the one who bought, the most ridiculous computer, the most ridiculous everything with all his startup or whatnot. And so as you guys can see, the cost of entry is very low in this business. On a physical branch, it was easily $12,000, $18,000. So they would have to sell about 35 grand as an office in the summertime to break even. And that was a very standard thing. The national average was about $38,000. If your son or daughter opens an office and they run the office just for the summer, and they don't know what they're doing, they have no clue, they're probably going to find a way to, round up $35,000 in sales of Cutco just in that summertime on the average. Now, of course, we have superstars that go out there. When I ran my branch out of Weslaco, we sold 315,000 out of Weslaco. And so that was a very good branch. That wasn't a majority, that was a minority, but that does show you the possibilities. Our number one branch this year did about $600,000. We had a new girl who she netted, I think, $270,000 in the summer. Her sales are about over $1 million this summer. And so that is not normal by any means, but let's just say the girl's paid off college and she probably bought a house already. And she's, I think, 19 or 20 years old. And so she kicked butt, she took names, and that was very, very, exciting to see. It shows us what's possible, but that's not the norm. And so when we run numbers like these, we always run through the norms. And that's one of the biggest things I could say is, as an adult and as the parental supervision with them, is they'll have these goals of selling 200, 300. Some of them will go to you and say, I'm going to sell $500,000 this summer, mom and dad. And then I'm buying you a house, mom. And all these things are going to be said. And all I want to say is just always refer back to the numbers. And I'm not saying shoot down their dreams. I'm just saying, up here what more or less probably will play out if the averages happen. And that's all this for. So we'll get this document to you. So the company contribution, as of right now, if they don't do an office lease, it's $3,000. Will it go higher or lower? It's not going to go lower. We know that. Could it go higher? Possibly to 4, potentially. But as of right now, from what we're getting at a division manager level, is 3 is it. And if they open an office, it's going to stay at the 6. And so it's a grant pretty much. It's not a loan. It's totally just, hey, you're going to go open your office. We're betting on you too. Now, of course, your son or daughter is saving because they want to place their Instagram ads. They want to do some marketing on their own. They want to go do XYZ to build their business. I'm huge on savings. And if they put in their Vector account, they can't release it to buy golf clubs. And that's why I encourage that. I encourage them to put in their Vector account. So when they try to release the money, I get an email on, this is what I'm releasing it for. And so long it's not, anything crazy, it's pretty easy to release. It's the next day direct deposited, but it does show up on their commission statement. And so every week when they get paid for selling knives and doing what they do, at the very bottom, it has a little like checking account set up at the bottom. And it says your total withholdings is XYZ. I remember when I was 23, I put $100,000 over a year's time into that account. That was massive. And what it taught me was we want to think money and finances is mathematical. It's a logic. It's a common sense thing, but it's an emotional based thing. And the moment we start to learn finances and money is more emotion based than logic based, is the faster we can help people. And it took me a while to figure that out, but I've realized that like adding just $50, $100 out of their weekly commission statement to their checking account. So it's another account that's totally theirs and they can get it out whenever they want. But just seeing the growth, it does something to us. And it did it to me. It became like a game. It started, I put a campaign bonus. I put like a $10,000 bonus I got when I was 23 in there. And so it started. And then I said, all right, I'm going to add 20% of everything I make every week to it. And it's, 1 month later, I saw more in there and I was like, whoa. And over the course of the year, I really started to go really Dave Ramsey style on this. And I started just living way below my means. I got out of this house I rented a really cheap apartment, and I just got aggressive to the game. And I said, how much can I save? And I saved a little over 100 grand in a single year as a 20-year-old. And it was really cool to see because I realized emotions dictate what we do. And so that's what I would encourage you guys to be on board with me on, is save, right? And what are we saving for? It's not really for the office. Your office is pretty much going to be covered from the company standpoint. We already kind of know this, right? But we want to have our safe haven, right? We want to have our, what's the account that Dave Ramsey always says? The the risk account or whatever, you know, when something happens or whatnot, and just have the savings there. And in the perfect world, you would never touch it. You would never touch the savings account. It just keeps growing and growing because you just don't need it, right? Because the business is going to be started. And if you kick butt, you're going to be saving even more money probably. And so maybe we save to never spend it. We save and save and save. And it's a really, really cool habit to see when you have young 20-year-olds. And if you can have a couple 20-year-olds save $100,000, they're not losing in life. They're doing okay. And it's a really, really cool thing to see kids start to say that stuff. I have a big saying in the office of, don't tell me what you made, tell me what you saved, right? And I would love if parents could kind of jump on board with that too. And so they don't just hear it from me, but then they go home and instead of telling mom or dad, I made, you know, JR crushed. Like JR just sold $20,000 this past month. This is his biggest month. That beat sometimes his whole 4 months in the fall and the spring. Phenomenal. The guy's been with us for now a couple years, and it's cool to see how over the years they'll grow. But that means JR also made more money than he's ever made in a quick amount of time. And so with him, I already know he'll come, he'll see I have a big commission statement, and he's already going to hear it from me. How much did you save? How much did you save? And it would be awesome to just see others kind of jump on board with that too. And when it becomes the cool thing for them to do, they do it. And it's amazing to see it. And so saving money, living below your means, cutting costs, you know, things like that. And very, very cool habits to have. So when they get to their upper 20s and their 30s and 40s, it's already like, this is what we do. I live below my means. I save money and I do the right things, right? And that's it's a real cool thing to see. Personal expenses, personal rent, you know, it depends where they're going to be. We already kind of have a setup with the offices. I'm going to explain in a bit, but you know, these are the basic things. You know, virtual branch 2,000, physical branch would be 5,400 because they would literally have to move to their territory. Let's say, you know, they opened the Uvalde office, the Eagle Pass office, the Laredo office. They would leave from where they are to go there. So of course rents come in and things like that. Not the case in a virtual world. So the things go down. And here's how they get paid. So can I get a thumbs up if you want to learn how your son or daughter will be paid? Yes. All right. Thank you. So office rep sales. So every rep they recruit. So every recruit that comes into the business, they have their pay plan. And so the rep sales is 0 to 1%. They're at 10%, and then it jumps up to 15% for the rep. We're the opposite. So from 0 to 1,000, the manager gets 25%. So the district manager, the branch manager, they're getting the majority of everything at the very beginning. The moment that rep sells $1,000 all the way to $3,000, that rep's now getting paid 15% and the manager's getting 20%. Then from 3 to 6, the rep's getting 20% and now the manager's getting 15%. And then from 6 to 50,000, the rep's going all the way up to 30%, but then the manager gets 10%. And so we go down as the rep goes up. And so we're forced to stay active, keep changing life, selling knives, keep helping others, keep growing a new team, right? And the reason they do this is most of our high level CSPs, salespeople, like none of us had to really call JR in the month of December and teach him how to sell a knife. This wasn't the case. Maybe we had to call him to emotionally get him engaged, but we didn't need to teach him how to sell a knife. And it's because he's been doing this for a while, right? And it's the same with all our higher end sales reps. Is as they progress in this business, sometimes they become better salespeople of these knives than we do ourselves. And so we don't need to teach them how to sell knives. And it goes all the way down to where we even get 5% on many of them, and they're getting all the way up to 50%. And I like it like that. I think it's a win-win situation, and it keeps us on our toes and keeps us working hard. And for a branch manager, once again, this is 90 to 120 days out of their life. This is not a forever thing. This is a get an experience thing. And if you do well, you can make some pretty good cash, right? So as you guys can see, these are the estimated on overrides. If the office sells 50% or 50 grand in the summertime, the average is like 38 from West Coast to East Coast, right? And a lot of managers, they pump out anyone with a pulse, which is unfortunate. I really wish they didn't do this, but they do. And so they'll bring down the averages because people will say, oh, I'm going to open an office, and then they don't open an office and it gives a 0. And so it really brings down the averages. So there's 38 as the average, but let's say they sold 50 grand. All of our branches in 2019 sold over 50 grand out of South Texas. So that's pretty cool to see. Their estimated commissions was 10,000. With the bonus of the startup, they got 6. So they made about 16 grand just in the summertime. Not bad. They spent maybe 10 grand and like living out there and doing what they're doing. And so all of our branches in 2019 came back with a good hefty savings account. Our number one branch from this summer came back with 13 grand saved. Just to give you guys ballpark estimates. But you guys can see this. You guys can see on the screen. If you do $300,000, you're probably going to make around $51,000. I think out of the 315, my sales, a lot of it was all new business. So it was about probably 19-20%. And I think my net profit was like 82 grand in 2013 in the summertime. And that was with a very high-end office. So it's not normal. But that's kind of the reality of the situation. So personal sales income, as you know, your son or daughter, they're pretty good at selling knives. They've sold enough to be here, right? And so branches earn 50% flat. There's no 30 and then 20 later. It's 50% flat in the months of July, August, and September. And so if they sell 10K, they earn 5K. If they sell 20K, they earn 10K. Many reps take advantage of this because they were already sales reps. And then after they ran their branch office, they really dialed in on how to sell some more Cutco because they had to deal with, 10, 20, 30 kids who just don't listen to them or whatever it is. And you're like, how did you not sell? And they start to really dive into like, you could be better. And then at the same time, they're saying, I could be better too. And so that's the great part of it. Like I said, our number one guy, he saved 13 grand at the end of August or September. So estimated virtual branch profit, you got to run it on all the different numbers. With this, I would sit down with your son or daughter. We will email these out to all the parents, so you guys have it. We're very transparent. But you guys can see on there the personal sales end. If they just did $10,000 in CPO just in the 3 months, so in the 3 month span where they're making their straight 50, they make 5,000. The company startup, let's say they run a virtual office. So they're not running a physical branch. They're literally, operating in one of these offices, but they're also a manager. 3,000 startup. Personal startup to cover personal expenses. Let's say they saved. A lot of our kids have more than 3 grand saved right now. But let's say they only saved 3 grand. Office expenses, 5 to 8, right? 5 to 8. So, 3 grand profit, 4 grand profit. And that's if their office commission sold nothing. Okay, I promise you, I have faith in Lucio, Casey, David, and myself that they'll sell more than $0 if they open an office. And so you guys can put the number of what they want to sell, times it by like 16% to be very conservative, and then that's kind of how you'll see your summer savings. So hopefully that makes sense. It's a really cool document that Wes Frank, another division manager, put together, and this is what he went over with his parents on his parent Zoom call. And so I just wanted to make sure we got to go over it too, so you guys could see that. And then last thing is the openings. And so come summertime, all our MITs, they're going to be allowed to open offices. This is when corporate does it. It's our hot season. School's out, kids can out, have their summer break, and the list goes on. So we always spike in the summer. And our summer sales are what creates Vector marketing. And there's no mystery there. And that's just, it is what it is. And so learning from the past, we have seen where we learned from previous years, proximity is power. It's very hard for a young individual to go and live in their own apartment, out in an office, literally, in the boondocks, because that's all we have in South Texas is Uvalde, Eagle Pass, things like Rio Grande City. And so putting your son or daughter in an apartment alone to run virtual interviews or virtual trainings, it's not smart. Now, I know you're sitting there and saying, no duh. We went with the idea that we thought COVID was going to be over. And so we bet wrong. And so when we did that, it hit us hard. They all profited, thank God. And, they didn't have to sell much to profit, but we did not do what we should have done. And so we don't want to take the risk in 2021 and send people out to physical offices. We know there's a vaccine out there, and we know that there's hope that this could happen where everything's back to normal. But we also know that there's a risk, and we don't want to risk it. And so we know that the power of proximity of if your son or daughter go to an office and Lucio's there and other managers are there and we're all in a hub, right? Which I own another commercial building across the street. And that's kind of the projected plan for Lucio's office, all the Wesco group. And then David's office would all be in Laredo. So his launches would all operate out of Laredo. And then if your son or daughter is working in the McAllen office, they would work out of this office. And this office is about 2,300, 2,500 square feet. So there's more to it. But your son and daughter would have their own space. And then in the office building across the street also is about 2,000 square feet. And it's vacant right now. I have it saved off literally for Lucio, just for the summertime. And I think it's going to be a really cool win to have that. But we did learn young individuals, young 20-year-olds that run their business still need motivation. They still need maturity, and they still need someone to hold them accountable. And so we don't want to take a risk and send anybody out to another location, at least for this summer. So working in the office does increase productivity. I think some of you guys have seen that, maybe having to go to the virtual platform for your own job and having people all do Zoom and all do this. It's very hard to keep people engaged. I'm sure I lost half of you alone on this one. And the reality is, you know, the proximity and keeping things alive and being in an office setting, it makes us work a little bit more. And so we are going to be strong on, we're all going to an office. You know, we're going to an office. We're not meeting with reps there. We do everything via Zoom, but at least we have each other. And so there'll probably be 5, 8, whatever it is, in each office building, and it's just mainly the managers. And we get to bounce ideas off of each other. If we have struggling issues with an individual rep or whatever that may be, you know, we can pass that to another one, right? And so these things are very, very important for us. So we do want to do that. Our district managers, we sat down, and those are the things we thought of. You know, proximity matters, and being in an office does matter. And so we kind of catered. We're blessed to have that. You know, I'm blessed to be able to, you know, we have about 7 buildings that we own down here, and so we're having one just for Wesco, and we'll have this one for McAllen, and then David has his out in Laredo. And so the Wesco district team, they're going to have their own office. That's kind of the game plan right there. And so that is pretty much our plan per se for South Texas as of now. Concerns of launching and things like that, how your son or daughter get paid or anything like that. I did want to give us a couple minutes. I'll be here as long as you guys need, but for just questions for me, Lucio, David, you know, Casey or Brittany. But we're here to answer questions and keep things transparent and handle concerns and just give you guys all that you need, because we do want you guys to buy in to helping us grow South Texas. And helping us is just supporting your son or daughter as they go through this very odd knife selling job that ends up being, you know, a career for many.